Hello dear friends, in this class we are going to discuss in detail about the clutches, mechanical clutches, and I will give a brief introduction about the different types of clutches and how the working of the clutch is being carried out and what are the important components of a clutch. So after this I will explain in detail about the single plate clutch, multi-plate clutch, cone clutch, etc. So now let's have a brief introduction about the clutches. So basically, the main function of a clutch is to engage or disengage the motion, circular motion. That's the basic requirement of a clutch. So it is stated that a device used to engage or disengage power from a driven to a driver shaft. This is how it is being defined. So we have to disengage to driving shaft for some purpose. Sometimes it may be to engage a gear, or sometimes it may be to stop or something like that. We have to disengage two systems so the device that is going to help us to do that is the clutches. So what are the basic requirement of a clutch? Even though we have stated that the main purpose is to engage and disengage, still it has got some requirements. Should not just engage or disengage. Other than that, it should possess some properties, and among that the main one is the torque transmitted. So the main aim, or even though the main aim is engaging and disengaging, the clutch has to transmit certain amount of torque, or a designed amount of torque it has to transmit between two shafts, and usually this is 125 to 150% of the maximum engine torque. So whatever might be the torque that is being provided at the driver shaft, it has to transmit an excess amount of 25 to 50% in action. So that's one of the basic requirement of a clutch. And second one is the engagement should happen gradually. Suppose you just consider two shafts which are rotating at two different speeds, and all of a sudden if they come into contact, the shock or the jerk will happen on both the ends, and this can even lead to failure also. So gradual engagement has to happen. So I think most of you have already driven a motorcycle or a four-wheel car. So there you have used the clutch, and you know what will happen if you release the clutch pedal. All of a sudden the vehicle will experience a sudden jerk in motion. So that should be avoided. And third thing is that heat dissipation, because we know that most of the clutches works on the principles or work with the help of friction. They use the friction as the major component that transmits the torque and motion. So whenever there is friction, definitely the transfer of energy is from kinetic energy or some kind of energy to heat energy. So definitely, because of the relative rubbing, large amount of heat is going to develop in clutch. So it has to have the capacity to dissipate the maximum or the amount of heat that is being generated in the clutches. And the fourth important thing is the dynamic balancing, because we know that it has to transmit motion from one portion to another. So definitely, even if there is a slight unbalanced mass in the system, it is going to affect it. So definitely it has to balance dynamically, and it should have a good vibration damping property. We know that since there is rotation involved and engaging happens, disengaging happens, higher chances of vibrations are there because of the presence of jerk also. So definitely the material used, or the body of the clutch, or in total this clutch should be able to damp certain amount of vibration. Damp in the sense means reduce, to absorb certain amount of vibration. And finally, another important criteria is the size, because we know that we cannot have a huge size clutch in an automobile. We are always trying to optimize the space, so definitely the size also matters, and it should have the minimum inertia. The reason is that if it has higher inertia, definitely it has a tendency to continue in its state. So that's not what is being defined here. Either we should transfer the motion at the earliest, or we should disengage at the earliest. So in order to have such kind of action, the entire system should have the minimum inertia. So this is another important criteria. Important criteria that should keep in your mind. Now, and finally, the eighth one is the ACE of operation. ACE of operation is the, I think that particular requirement is self-explanatory. It should be easy to work on. And we have got two different types of clutch. One is the dry clutch and second one is the we have the dry clutch as well as the wet clutch. So basically the dry clutches are typically air cooled. There is no external type of or internal type of cooling system available with that. It has to happen naturally. And for the wet clutch, wet in the sense means we are using some amount of oil. So definitely there it is immersed in an oil or a coolant, and it helps to dissipate the amount of heat that is being generated in the clutch. So these are the difference between dry as well as wet clutches, and these are the basic requirement of a clutch. Now if you distinguish the capacity of dry clutch as well as the wet clutch, we can say that the coefficient of friction is less in the wet clutch, but whereas in dry clutch it is somewhat high. Now in terms of the case of torque carrying capacity, wet clutch is having a less capacity when compared to the dry clutch. It is having higher torque carrying capacity. And the moisture contamination, that is not a serious issue in the case of a wet clutch, but that is not the scenario in dry clutch. Even this moisture contamination can affect the performance of a dry clutch. So definitely we need some kind of sealing. We have to prevent the clutch from exposing it to the higher or the dirt or the moisture. And heat dissipation, because of the presence of the oil, wet clutch is that is being carried out by the lubricating oil, and the heat dissipation is very difficult in the case of dry clutch. And wear rate, clutch engagement and surface area, all these are some of the comparisons that we have when we discuss about the dry and wet clutches. Basically in our automobiles we are using dry clutches. We don't have any kind of external cooling elements. So now let's discuss about the details. So what are the general classification we have got for the clutches? So basically, even though there are very vast variety of classification, in general if we classify the clutches, we can say that it has got positive contact clutches are there, friction clutches are there, electromagnetic clutches are there, fluid clutches are there. So these type of clutches are there. And when you take the case of positive contact clutch, we can say we usually say that it has got square jaw type and spiral jaw type. So I will explain all this in the coming slide. And our focus of study will be on the single plate clutch, multi plate clutch, cone clutch, centrifugal clutch. So in this series of lecture under the topic clutch, I will be explaining about the design of single plate clutch, multi plate clutch, cone clutch and the centrifugal clutch. And this electromagnetic clutch, these electromagnetic clutches are mainly used in the case of air conditioning, automobile air conditioning. That is an application we can see. I don't know whether you have noticed it or not. Sometimes when you switch on the AC, you can hear a small tick sound from the engine case, and that tick sound is nothing but the engagement of this magnetic clutch with the compressor side. So there engaging and disengaging happening by the process of electromagnetic principles, and fluid clutches also. So in general what I will say is that based upon the method of applying the load, definitely you have to apply some amount of load to make this clutch engage or disengage. That is the sole purpose. Two shafts are being in contact with the help of two plates. It can be a friction plate, it can be a square jaw type or a spiral jaw type or anything like that, or it can happen. But this process has to happen under the influence of certain amount of force, and that force is being supplied in different means. So that difference itself is the classification of clutch. Suppose if you use some amount of fluids for this process, it comes under the fluid clutch. If you are using the electromagnetic principles, that comes under the electromagnetic clutch, like that. So it's simply we can say that based upon the nature of the application of load, we can classify the clutches, right? So moving forward, you can see different types of, these are the real clutch images. They are not pictorial representations, they are the real images. Here you can see a single plate clutch. Single plate clutch. So we have got, in a single plate clutch, we have got pressure plate, we have got friction plate. So what happens is that this pressure plate rubs against the friction plate, and because of the effect of friction, the speed of these two surfaces will come into a match. So that is how the speed of the driver side will be equal to the speed of the driven side. So here you can see different type of helical springs are being used for the purpose of engaging as well as disengaging. But if you look at this image, this is also a single plate clutch, but there is a difference here. You can see here spiral springs are there. Along with that, you have got plate type of clutches, or otherwise it is called as belly willy springs. So this kind of otherwise it is called as belly willy springs. So this type of springs are also being used. So this is another type of clutch. I think this is one of the major type of clutch that is being used in the automobile. And when it comes to the case of multi-plate clutch, like in the name itself, we have got multi number of plates, more than one number of plates. We have got n number of friction plates and n number of pressure plate, like that. So here we can see that you have got friction plate here and here, you have got pressure plate here and here. So like that, number of plates are being used in this clutch so as to reduce the size of the clutch. So when you compare the size of a single plate clutch with a multi-plate clutch, we can say that for transmitting the same amount of torque, the size of a multi-plate clutch is much smaller when compared with the single plate clutch. And the fourth one is the cone clutch, another interesting type of clutch. So why it is being called as cone is, here you can see that here this is the friction surface. This is the friction surface. So this is vertical or in that style. But if you look here, you can see that there is a slight angle here. There is a slight inclination happening here. The friction surface is slightly in an inclined posture. That means if you look at the cone clutch, you can say that you have a driver side and driven side. So it has got a conical shape like this. So it is getting engaged in a conical manner. Even though the cone angle is very small, you feel that it is parallel or horizontal, something like that. But actually it is in a conical manner. One cone is entering into the other. The male is being entering into the female, like that. The arrangement is like that. It can transmit higher amount of load. It's an very efficient clutch. That is also one of our focus of study. And we have another thing is the centrifugal clutch. Centrifugal clutch is something which uses the centrifugal force. So whenever the speed increases, centrifugal force tries to or take out this friction plate outward. And when it goes outward, it gets engaged with the outer surface. So that is another friction plate. So gradually the speed will increase. I think this type of clutches are basically used in when we use the gearless motorcycles. So you can see when you accelerate it, the speed is gradually increasing, suddenly increasing. So when you increase the acceleration, what happens? The more amount of centrifugal force is being developed here, thereby all these clutch pads are going to expand outward and thereby getting in contact. More and more force is external force, not external force, centrifugal force acting the clutch shoes, and the engaging and disengaging happens. Now comes the jaw clutch. It can be a square jaw or a spiral jaw. If you look here, you can see that we have got some projections. So one projection is getting engaged with the other depression, like that. So this is a very positive contact type of clutch. There will not be any kind of slip. There will not be any kind of heat generation. But the problem is that when we use this square jaw type or a spiral jaw type of clutch, there can happen only in slow speeds, and higher chances of jerk is there in the case of jaw clutches. So jaw clutch is not mainly used in automobiles. For low speed application and on the places where you don't like to have heat or slip, you can use the jaw clutch. Now we have got positive contact clutch, and here if you look, like I explained in the jaw clutch, you can see one projection is being entering into the other one. So two halves have got two projections, so one half enter into the other one, like that. And no slip and heat, these are the conditions of the positive contact type of clutches. Now the most important component of the clutch is the friction material, because this is the one that is going to solve the purpose or serve the purpose of the clutch. If your friction material is not good, you cannot have a proper engagement or proper transmission of torque as well as speed. So friction material is the most important part of the clutch. So if you have a failed friction material, the clutch is useless. Whatever might be the physical condition of or the wellness of other components doesn't matter. The first thing that should be right or designed properly is the friction material. Okay, so what are the desirable properties? Definitely we can say from our common sense that it should have high friction. Then only during the process of relative rubbing, the engaging happens. And another most important thing is that it should have high constant coefficient of friction. We usually say that at elevated temperatures, usually the coefficient of friction comes down, but that's being recommended here. We should have a constant coefficient of friction for a wide range of temperature. We cannot say that the clutch is going to work on a particular temperature. No, it is not the condition. The clutch is going to work on different conditions, temperature conditions, based upon the speed, the way in which we engage, disengage, the condition of friction material. All these things matters. So it should have a constant coefficient of friction. Definitely it should have good thermal conductivity. It should not be affected by the environmental condition, and it should have high wear resistance. All these are some of the desirable properties of friction material. I think these properties are self-explanatory as well as can write from our common sense. So coming to the friction material, what are the different types of friction materials that we use? So the basic ingredients comes the fibers and the fillers. These fibers are being binded or bonded together using some amount of fillers or like calcium carbonate, brads, clay, etc. So these fibers have rigidity and high strength, usually steel wool or aramid replacing asbestos. Usually in the earlier days we use asbestos, but nowadays it is being replaced by aramid, and steel wools are also there. So these fibers are being filled up by the fillers. And there are other type of, for metallic lining also, some fine powders are used as the fillers. Some fine powders. For binding we use glues. So high bonding strength glues are being used, phenol, formaldehyde, etc. Some of the components that is being used for binding all these fibers, fillers, etc. And finally, along with that we add some friction modifiers, because our fundamental aim is to enhance the friction, higher coefficient of friction. So we usually add some amount of modifiers or additives so as to enhance the friction. Usually brass or zinc are some of the components that is being added in order to increase the friction. So this is how, or these are the basic components or the way in which the elements that we used for the production of friction materials. Now if you take the clutches, there are two types of clutch materials. One is woven type and second one is molded type. I think the name itself is self-explanatory. Woven in the sense means you have got fiber which is being woven around the brass or copper or something like that, or even it is being impregnated with the rubber. Okay, so you have a woven fiber. This fiber, the main property is that it is having high strength. It will not deteriorate during the application. And along with that, it is flexible. The coefficient of friction is high and cheap and high, but the disadvantage is that it is having high wear rate. But molded in the sense means we are molding everything into a single piece. There is not woven fabrics. Instead of that, the fibers will be scattered around, which will be bonded together using some kind of glue or binders or some kind of resins. So wet mixtures of brass chips and asbestos poured into a mold, heated and pressed. That's how it's being fabricated. And they are rigid. They are less. The coefficient of friction is very less, and they're costly and low wear rate. So this type of molded type of friction materials are being widely used nowadays. Even if you examine a recent automobile clutch, you can see that most of the clutches comes under the molded pattern, just because of the low wear rate. Even though it is costly, when it comes to the case of wear rate, this molded type of clutches are being widely used. So this is the basic introduction, and the next class I will discuss about the single plate clutch as well as multi plate clutch in detail. Along with that, I will explain the design procedure of these two. So till then, bye. Thank you.